Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video we are going to head outside again. We are going to focus on some more commonly asked questions when it comes to putting your guinea pigs outside. It's clear that there is a lot of variation between owners and countries, and some piggies have access to the outside a lot, whereas not everyone has a garden or a private space they can use for them. So we're going to run through these questions and I'll answer them to the best of my knowledge with a little bit of added research as well. And first of all, you asked, do the piggies actually like being outside? So I would say that people can get different impressions of whether the guinea pigs are actually enjoying it or not. Some shy piggies will also be very shy when they're outside, and I think it's one of those things that it takes a lot of getting used to. There's a lot of additional smells and scary noises and things happening around them, so you can understand why some piggies might want to hide away at first, but there are things that you can do to help, such as you staying close by, you can provide shelter in their run for them, and you can build up to longer sessions with shorter ones in the beginning. Also, a good tip is to put fleece pads under any hideys in the run. That way they have to come outside if they want to get to the grass. Let's dive into some more questions as the guinea pigs head outside. So first of all, you asked, can guinea pigs eat all types of grass? This is a kind of difficult question because I'm sure there will be some species of grasses growing somewhere that are not safe for piggies. However, for grasses growing on people's lawns, then yes, they are considered safe for guinea pigs. Common grass species here in the UK are things like fescues, meadow grasses, Yorkshire fog, cocksfoot, and perennial ryegrasses. Next up, you asked whether our setup is in our backyard and what kind of things in general are there to look out for when taking your piggies outside. So yes, this setup is in our garden. We're lucky enough to have a fairly big space where we can put the guinea pigs out. And if you don't have a garden, then I would be wary of taking them to a public place. You mentioned about squirrels and dogs in your local park, and I think that in particular grass that could have been peed on or pooed on by dogs and other animals would be dangerous, and personally I wouldn't risk it. Even if people do pick up after their dogs, there can be bacteria and even parasites left behind on the grass. And another thing to think about is avoiding any grass that could have been treated with chemicals. So pesticides and herbicides can get absorbed into the grass and be dangerous for our piggies. A general one is to always watch out for damp, cold grass and a chill wind outside. And a good rule that I always remember for our piggies is that if we're cold, then they could also be cold. So there are definitely some risks involved with putting your guinea pigs outside that vary from place to place. So it's important to know that it's not essential for our piggies to go outside. And there are alternative ways of adding grass to their diet. So you could pick grass from somewhere that's inaccessible to dog walkers and wash it first as a precaution, or you could also grow your own grass. A lot of people give this a go with wheatgrass, and from what I've seen, the guinea pigs absolutely love it. Let me know if you'd like me to have a go at this on the channel. Next up, one of you asked about not letting piggies eat mown grass, and is this really true? So this piece of advice has been knocking around on the internet for a long time, and personally I think it's true that grass that's been through a mower is not recommended to give to your guinea pig. First of all, it could have been exposed to chemicals or oils in the machinery, and also it's chopped up really finely, which means it's harder for our piggies to be picky and select the best bits of clean, healthy grass. It might not look like it when you see your guinea pigs nibbling away, but they are being quite selective about what they're actually eating. And having it all chopped up means there's bits of herbs and plants and other things mixed in with the grass, and they might end up eating some things that they would normally avoid. Kind of related to this is the worry that they might eat some plants that are not good for them. So in general, most lawns won't contain harmful plants, but it does pay to be aware of some plants that can be dangerous. These are things like foxgloves, bluebells, other plants grown from a bulb like daffodils and crocus, bracken, ivy, hemlock, the list goes on, so I will put some useful links in the description below. In your lawn, however, it's good to know that dandelions are safe, but Buttercups can be a problem and are considered poisonous, although personally I think it's only when they're eaten in high amounts. It does concern me a little bit that we have loads of creeping buttercup in our lawn. Creeping buttercup looks like this, but the pigs do tend to avoid it, and if they eat some by accident, it doesn't seem to affect them. Other lawn plants to watch for are things like daisies and ragwort. So what I do is scope out the piece of grass first and pick out anything I'm not sure of. As for the buttercups though, there are just too many of them, and some bits of the lawn are like 90% buttercup, which I don't put the piggies on. So let me know if anyone has a good piggy friendly way of removing buttercups. I'd love to find out. Next up is, how do you deal with insects like fleas and ticks? And this is one where it depends on your country and the risks. It would be very rare for ticks and other biting insects to be in gardens and target guinea pigs here in the UK, but in other places it could be more of an issue, and you may want to check the area thoroughly first and check over your piggies afterwards. In some countries, being aware of insects coming inside can also be a problem, and there is advice on forums for preventing this. The worst I've had is slugs coming in under the front door when I was living in student accommodation with my pigs, and the slugs went for the pellet bowl and ate the pellets. Now, I was obviously horrified, and from that day I made sure that no slugs could get inside again. You also asked about local wildlife and the risk from predators and possibly wildlife even carrying diseases. And although here in the UK, where the worst things are probably pet cats, I wouldn't ever leave my piggies unattended with no roof on the run. There are just too many tragic stories about people's guinea pigs and rabbits being taken by wildlife and other pets, and it's just not worth the risk. As for diseases, I guess there is some risk there, and depending on where you live in the world, you might decide not to put your piggies outside, which is totally fine. Next up was, how big of a space should I give my two boys for their outside time? And there's no rules here. It doesn't need to be as big as their cage even. It's just about giving them some stimulation and enrichment and a change of scene really. For guinea pigs, they enjoy grass. That's probably the key highlight for them going outside. So if it's only a smaller area than their cage, or it's not that big, then I wouldn't worry too much about it. Next up, we have a few quick questions about the omelette setup. And one of you asked on the original video whether there's space in the tunnel for piggies to pass by each other and turn around, just in case it might lead to any squabbles. So the tunnels are 7.1 inches in diameter, and I have seen all of my piggies easily hopping past each other and turning around without any problems. You also wondered, with the tunnels being ribbed, how easy they are to clean. So first of all, they do have little drainage holes, so that means that as long as you make sure those holes are on the bottom of the tunnel, there's unlikely to be pee making poos stick to the inside of the tunnel, if that makes sense. So I haven't had any poos stuck in there, and I have just been able to tip out loose ones when I've moved the run around. Omlet also suggests that the tunnels can be easily cleaned with a hose pipe, which I would tend to agree with, although I've not had to do it myself yet. You also asked about the height difference in the two types of runs and whether it's worth the extra cost to go for the taller one. And I think I would recommend this. With this shorter one, you can obviously get in there with your piggies, whereas it is possible for the taller one, which is nice if you're like me and you like to sort of sit in with them, or if you're like me and you like to film your piggies or take photos of them, then it's nice to be able to do that without the cage grids in the way. I've also found that I've been using the taller one to get in there and catch them when it's time for them to come back inside. This would be difficult with the smaller one without modifying the roof panels and making it so you could flip some up easily and then reattach them. So if I had to recommend either size run, then I would say go for the taller of the two. And of course, you don't need to start off with different ones and tunnels in between and everything. You can kind of work on your setup as you go, which is one of the cool things about the omelette system. The piggies are back inside and we have 2 more questions left. So first of all, you asked if it's possible to have too much grass. And in theory, no. Grass is a sort of key component of their diet, whether it's in hay form or fresh grass form. And many people do talk about their piggies having access to grass 24/7. So based on that, it's okay for them to have access to an unlimited amount. However, these guinea pigs that are going outside all the time are adapted to eating grass on a daily basis, and we need to remember that guinea pigs don't always deal with changes in their diet easily. So if your guinea pigs haven't had grass for a long time, especially when it's that new spring growth, then make sure you take care to introduce it to them slowly and perhaps only put them out for half an hour at a time to begin with, and then build it up slowly. And lastly, you asked if grass can replace veggies. And in my opinion and my vet's opinion, yes, grass can replace veggies, or at least you can significantly reduce the amount of fresh veggies you're giving your piggies when they have access to grass. Grass and other safe plants in the lawn contain vitamin C and other nutrients. They're high in fibre, and they're sort of more closely aligned to what our guinea pigs' natural diets are. That historically doesn't involve vegetables grown for humans. That said, as I've mentioned before, you don't need to worry about your guinea pigs not getting any grass. As long as they've got good quality hay all of the time and you supplement with some veggies to give them variety and different nutrients, then not having grass is not a problem. Okay everyone, that is all for today's video. I hope you've enjoyed seeing the piggies head outside again. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Bye bye!